Hi, friends. Welcome back to Universal Talks. Today, I am honored to have Hannah Fogg with me. Hannah is a fellow Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner, energetic medicine practitioner, and a naturopathic doctor. With a deep passion for helping others rediscover their divine essence and truth, Hannah's journey blends spirituality, naturopathy, and midwifery into profound healing practices. So excited to explore her inspiring story, her unique healing approach, and her wisdom. Hannah, hi. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's again, it's an honor. We've been wanting to catch up for so long, and I'm so glad it finally aligned.
I know it's long overdue.
Yeah, and just a little context as to what was a hiccup in our scheduling was we just talked briefly before recording is you are located in North Carolina, which was affected intensely by the hurricanes. And could you give a little update of how things are going there or how you came out through that?
Yeah, I feel like, I live in Western North Carolina, about 20 minutes outside of a town called Boone, which is in the northwestern kind of corner-ish of North Carolina near Tennessee and Virginia, within a half hour probably of both borders.
Okay.
Um, and we were hit like pretty decently. Our region, I would say that the west side of Boone was more affected than we were. And then, of course, people have heard about towns like Spruce Pine and Burnsville and Asheville and
Right.
Swannanoa, which
Yeah.
are south of us by about within 2 hours of us.
Okay.
Um, South, and those regions were even more affected than we were. I was very blessed because the holler that we live in, which is what they call it, the little valley we live in,
Yeah.
um, we live right on a creek, and the creek rose and it touched our home. It didn't take our home, but we did have to evacuate and made it
Yeah.
into an island. And it was really scary. I'd never been through anything like that myself.
Yeah, you
And
shared some videos and it was just like I said before, it was like a movie. It didn't even seem like it was America. Like,
I know.
oh,
And I've had people ask me, like, well, why didn't you know this was coming? And like, really, no, none of us had any idea that it would be so severe. We were told we would be getting some rain, but not this amount of rain. And
no.
I had heard that like places like Asheville, by the time they decided it was time to evacuate, people had already lost power and it was too late to get the message out. And, so where we live, we were actually really blessed after the hurricane and the flooding. When we drove around, we realized how much more damage had happened so many places nearby, and it was really devastating. My children's school was taken in the flood, and
Wow.
I mean, they're homeschooled, but they go to a homeschooling collective school, and
Okay.
that building is not not viable anymore. So they've been having to find little spaces to rent here and there until they find another permanent location.
Mm.
And there were so many, individuals, homes, businesses
Yeah.
devastated in the flood and in the hurricane. And I mean, I had a rain gauge out. We calculated it was about 16.7 inches that came in a day and a half, and we were told it was
Wow.
going to be vastly less than that. And
Wow.
that was with some of it going sideways, so it's probably not even an accurate.
Right,
Um,
yeah. And the mud too. I feel like it was the mudslides that were just
yeah,
wiping everything out.
we had friends from my children's school who lost their home in a mudslide, and I know whole towns were devastated in mudslides, just gone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it was really very, very scary. And also, like during it, I was trying so hard to tune in because that's like one of my, you know, gifts and abilities is this easy ability to tune in usually. And I,
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier, because I was also simultaneously in fight or flight, I was having
I'm
a really hard
sure.
time getting that guidance and information that I usually rely on to keep me calm. And
Yeah.
so, what I was told was, we know this is hard, and remember that after the devastation, it brings everyone together. It
Mm.
opens our hearts and brings us together in a much bigger way. And in all honesty, as I'm saying that, I'm getting full body
I
goosebumps.
did. I just did. Yeah.
Like, I can feel them all the way from my head.
Yep.
um, Yeah. And it really like that is such an understatement for what happened following like I remember going out to look for propane and ice because no one had power for so long and
Yeah.
people were running generators and trying to save what we could and um nobody had propane or ice and I stopped at this new gas station and I was asking the attendant and she was like, I'm sorry, we got nothing. And a lady just walked up to me and she's like, do you need a hug? And I was like, yeah. And it's so there's just those beautiful things were happening all over the place. And then the gas station attendant ran out and she's like, wait, we don't have ice, but I have an ice maker that's working and I'll just give you ice in garbage bags. And she just filled up 2 garbage bags with
Oh,
ice. And I was like, let me pay you. And she's like, no, we're here to help people and we're just going to help people. And that sort of beautiful like gesture was happening all over the place. We went to Lowe's to get some supplies, like the hardware store,
yeah.
and people had come up from all over to bring hot dogs and give lunch to whoever wanted it. And also they were like, do you need a hug or do you need food or both? And it was just so sweet. And
I love that.
yeah, it was really beautiful. I feel like it really renewed my sense of faith just in the divine in general, in humanity. Like
Yeah.
it really was, it neutralized people's differences. People all banded together to help each other, even if they had previously had conflicts or challenges with each other.
Right.
And it really was very much a grassroots effort. Lots and lots of people came from far away to help as well. And we were so grateful. But there, it was amazing to see the uprising of just people, boots on the ground, people that lived there
Um,
that had a tool, had a chainsaw, had a working vehicle that would just go and help anybody that needed it. And, our roads weren't cleared for nearly a week
mm,
because the ground had become so super saturated with water, the trees were falling over right and left.
right. Yeah.
And we live in the mountains, so there's a lot of them.
Mm,
And so, people with their chainsaws is really what cleared paths in the road before anyone else could get there. It was
wow.
just such a beautiful experience.
Yeah, that's something that I wanted to touch upon, which is why thank you so much for sharing that story, because I feel
Yeah.
like the world is always so affected by tragedy that we sometimes forget that there is still recovery happening, especially with all the things happening in LA right now. So I just wanted to shine a little bit light towards you because I know it's still needed for sure in that area. Yeah.
That is, yeah, you're right. It's like, I've been thinking about this a lot because of the fires in LA right now
Mhm.
and thinking about what that's like for all of those folks and
Yeah.
seeing the uprising already of people that are helping. I've seen things zooming around on the internet about like, I have a horse trailer and I will move horses for people. I have, come get free food. This is where I'm located. And
Yes.
it's just that amount of beauty and the giantness of people's hearts, I think, is what is going
It's the
towards creating
lesson. Yeah, that's
this
why this is
this
happening.
new
Yes.
world that we're all building together, right?
Yes. Yeah. Bringing the unity back to community is what I always say. It's just whatever it takes. It may take tragedy, as horrible as that is to comprehend, but
Yeah,
yes, thank you for
yeah,
sharing that.
you're welcome.
So I want to talk about your upbringing a little bit because it sounds like something out of a storybook. Like I was reading your blurb, I'm like, ooh, now I got to know. So you were born and raised in Vermont, and you
Yes.
it says you were surrounded by nature and learning from your mom, who is also a healer.
Yeah,
Wow,
mom
wow.
is an herbalist
Okay,
and she is a massage therapist and a Reiki practitioner and
so you're
just
born and raised a witch.
I was, yes.
It makes so much sense.
One of the coolest things actually that relates to our work is when I was young, our mom taught us to make flower essences.
Wow.
Do you know what flower essences
For
is?
sure.
It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
medicine from a flower, from a
Yes,
plant.
yeah.
And part of making those remedies was sitting on the ground with the plant, and we would have a book in front of us and a pen or pencil, like a, sorry, paper and a pen or pencil, and we would just ask the plant what parts to use in the remedy, like it, how many it wanted, which ones, if they wanted them face up, face down, how long it was supposed to be out in the elements, all day, all night, etc. And then we would ask the plant what it was to be used for, and we would just write down everything. And so through this, I learned how to communicate with plants, and
Okay.
I can hear them speak to me, and vice versa. And it really was very helpful. She taught us that, and simultaneously, she taught us automatic writing, where you
Mm,
sit with a notebook and a pencil and you ask a question and you just write down anything that pops into your mind.
that is so
And
cool.
through those practices, I essentially became really good at channeling and intuition and all of this work that we do, in
Hmm.
connecting with higher guidance and what we're teaching our clients to do. So it was a really amazing start for this work,
I'm
really.
sure. Yeah. And again, it just makes so much sense because you just have this airy fairy essence about you. And something that you can just tell is it wasn't curated. It was just always there, if that makes sense. Like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
does.
pure.
It does. It's funny you say airy fairy
Yeah.
because when
We share a
when I
friend,
started,
Nina Morocco, and we all were fairies for sure.
yes, exactly. Yeah, when I started this work, I was getting so many clients that were pixies, and I was
Oh,
like,
I'm
this is
sure.
so interesting.
I believe
And
it.
then, like, seeing all these pixie lifetimes, it was really
Yep.
fascinating.
I love that. I love that so much. That's definitely, again, one of our connections. Absolutely.
Yes.
Um, you also mentioned that as a child, you learned even how to douse, and you mentioned the automatic writing, but how did this particular experience really open you to the deeper truths of the universe? Because you were such a young, yeah, you had your mom, but like, did it make sense? Or were you just like, oh, this is life? Like, is that a good question?
Sure. My mom was in a lot of spiritual circles growing up, and she just brought my sister and I to everything that she did. And
Gotcha.
we had a few friends our age that went as well, so it wasn't just like a couple of kids and then a bunch of grown-ups.
Okay.
But I learned so much, and that was
Really?
where dowsing came from, was from some of these other elders that we learned from growing up. I started dowsing, and I remember it like I used a pendulum at the time, and it felt like magic. And I was trying to explain it to a friend in fifth or sixth grade, and she's like, no, that's you. And I was like, it's really not. I'm not feeling that it's me. So I tied it to a chair and it didn't work, and I was like, I don't get it.
That's so
I tied
funny.
the pendulum to a chair. But um now I understand, like, of course, it's like using our own body and intuition as part of the
For sure.
vessel to bring the answers in. But what I like, I think the most poignant lesson that I learned from dowsing, I was probably in junior high, and my best friend Julie was there with her mom and me and my mom and some elders in the community who were like grandparents to us. And one of them said, oh, could you, let's have everybody think, like, put one person in the middle and everyone think a bad thought about this person. It could be even like, I don't like their shoes or something that's, but everyone think a bad thought. And then she used dowsing rods, and we doused the outermost auric layer or energy layer around this person's body. And it was very close to their body. And she's like, now I want everyone to think one nice thought about this person. And it was like outside the room. It was 32 feet outside of the building. That was their outermost auric layer at that point. And it's,
Wow.
learning those lessons at an early age just really made a big difference to me,
Yeah.
because I could see how important it was, what energy we were putting towards other people. And um, it had a big influence on me.
Yeah. So I'm curious, what was your mom's introduction to all of this? Was her mother the same with her? With teach all the
No,
teachings? No?
that's a really good question. I actually don't know where. I remember when I was younger, she was part of a group of 7 women that would get together, and it was kind of a spiritual group. They called themselves the Pleiades and the Seven Sisters. And
Oh,
my dad called them the Celestial Smellies because they always ate garlic and came home. But
I love that.
no, it was really funny. Um, but I'm wondering if it was through those groups of, support friends that she had growing up, because my grandmother wasn't really like that.
Hmm.
My dad's mother had some very supernatural experiences, and uh those were really amazing. But that was the other side of my family, so I'm not sure.
Right. How about your father? Was he spiritual or is?
No,
No?
he really wasn't.
It's so
No, but
interesting.
like I said, his mother was very tuned in, like had some really amazing experiences. Like when my dad was young, um, younger, when I was 5, actually,
Hmm.
my dad's second youngest brother died, and he appeared to my grandmother after that. And
Hmm.
he came in monk's robes in the middle of the night. She was woken up and told she had to be awake. And she was like, okay. And they told her to sit up in bed. And he walked in monk's robes, and half of his face was missing because he had fallen off of a mountain in Alaska.
Oh,
And
wow.
he just sat down on her bed and he said, Mom, I need you to know that I'm okay and
Mm.
I love you. And I need to go now, but I want you to know I'm okay. And that, like, I think that to her brought her, she was always very sad about the experience, but it brought her a lot of peace to hear that.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but she had a bunch of experiences similar to that, which were just,
Hmm. I'm always curious to know with family members that have like an upbringing like that. Because my mom was very hippy dippy too growing up, and
oh,
she
yeah,
was, yeah, which just explains me. But
that's awesome.
curious, your sister, is she like in the healing world too?
No, my
No?
sister is not. No, she is a potter and
Ooh,
a mom, and I do actually suspect she has a lot of abilities
I
and
would
talent,
imagine. Yeah.
but they're not something that she wants to check out at the moment, I don't think.
Hey, everyone's on their own journey. That's okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, what inspired you to pursue getting your doctorate in naturopathic medicine?
Yeah. Good question. Um, I feel like my whole life I have been one very led by intuition. Like my being just will not let me take steps in any direction until my intuition says to do it.
Yep.
That's just how it is.
Same.
Um, and uh, I also feel like I've gone through my life being aware that the time we're in right now is coming somehow. And I have always felt like it was part of my mission to learn, embody, and then teach skills that were important, skills that may otherwise become lost.
Mm.
And so I think that led me to naturopathy, and it also led me into midwifery. And, in I wouldn't say that what we do is becoming lost. I feel like it's more up and coming
Oh yeah.
than anything.
Yeah.
But in its own way, it also led me to that.
Beautiful. I was going to
Um,
ask about the midwifery too. That was next. You just
yeah.
got right into it.
Yeah. Gosh, midwifery is like such a beautiful blend of spirituality and physicality, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's some of the most amazing work I've ever done in the world. Such What I really loved about midwifery more than anything was that, when you're in the middle of labor and birth, especially unmedicated labor and birth, um, everything falls away. Like there is no room for pretending anything. It's
Yeah.
just raw, it's real. You show up as like the fullness of your authentic self. And that's true of everybody in
Mhm.
in the room.
Yeah.
in this space. And I just really was always very drawn to that. I loved that work deeply. I did not love the hours, but all the rest of it was amazing.
So
Um,
do you still do it at all?
I don't know.
No, okay.
I've done it for friends and family that were having children
Right.
more recently, but really since I had my own children, I haven't done much of it. Um, and actually in North Carolina, it's illegal to be a home birth midwife. So,
Really?
um, yeah, it's interesting. It's not legal everywhere.
Huh. That's
So
interesting.
but I still have like all that knowledge and I still
Right.
help
Yeah.
people with
It's good to have. Yeah.
what I can
Yeah,
for
I'm
sure.
really drawn to end of life, like a death doula. So it's kind of like in the same
Mhm.
realm, just on the other spectrum. So that's,
Absolutely.
yeah, something I'm definitely called to do.
Have you looked into that at all?
Not any further because I've just been focused on this podcast and just growing my practice, but it's something that I want to incorporate very soon for
Yeah.
sure.
I've been getting like the about that too. Just
Mhm.
I don't know that it's my mission, but I feel like it's so important and there's a lot
Very,
there. Like, and I think that the skill set that we are building through this work is a
mhm.
really amazing dovetail with that work.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So speaking of beyond quantum healing, it became part
Yeah,
of your practice in 2019. What drew you to that? I love hearing people's story.
sure. Um, I saw Candace's post online. I think that I first learned about it through Michael Garber
Mm,
because I was following him on Facebook for a while before I learned anything about Candace, and then I saw her, and then it was just like the breadcrumbs started
yep. Yep.
dropping in front of me, and I was like, oh my gosh. I had gone in 2015 and 2016 to a woman who called herself an intuitive soul reader
Okay.
because we had a dear friend of ours, of my mom's, who was staying at our house and taking a medical intuitive training when I lived in Maine. And she came home one night and she said, so when people get to middle age, if they're not doing what their soul has called them to do, like if they're not following their soul path, then they start to get things that happen to them that will try to wake them up. And at first they're small, but if you're really not listening, they get bigger and louder. And this includes major health issues, accidents, etc. Like
Yeah.
just big wake up events, right? And so at that point I was like, okay, I have two young children and I am kind of approaching my middle age and I would like to figure out what the heck it is that I should be doing so that I don't have to get hit in the face by major incident.
Yeah.
So I went to her and I walked in and she was like, "Why are you here today?" And I said, "Well, I'm wondering what I'm meant to do." And she said, "Well, that's funny. A lot of people ask that, but I feel like you already know you're a healer." And I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I did know that." All right.
Yeah.
But I remember the experience with her was so amazing. And I was thinking during it, oh my gosh, I wish I could do that. And as soon as I saw Candace's invite to learn beyond quantum healing, I was like, everyone can do that. And that is what we are doing.
Yeah.
And as I'm sure you've experienced, the more you do it and the more you practice, the more quickly it comes, the easier it gets, the more broad and expansive your experiences get.
Yeah.
And it just kind of all unfolded in a very effortless way in what I like to call like being in the universal flow.
Yes. Divine
I
alignment.
love that
Yes.
feeling.
Yes. Me too. Yeah. Because it's always interesting. It's either obviously Candace is amazing with media and putting it out there, but Dolores Cannon, I love always hearing when she comes in. Did you know about her before BQH?
No,
No?
I didn't.
That's very
I
common.
never
Yeah.
did. But you know what? She shows up
I was gonna
sometimes.
say, yeah, you can't un not see her once you do know of.
Yeah. Absolutely. She
Yeah.
shows up in sessions, she shows up in
Yep.
my own sessions,
Yep.
and it's been really, really beautiful.
Oh, I love it.
Um, yeah, it's awesome. I just and this just worked. It kind of combined so many of the things that I loved. When I was in naturopathic school, I really loved what I was learning, but I didn't feel like it aligned with me that well, honestly. What I really loved more than anything was the energetic side of things and the spiritual side of things. And so I did all of the extracurricular activities that I could do that helped to teach me those things like craniosacral therapy and visceral manipulation and like the more subtle energy techniques. Because I feel like personally, energy is everything. So this work was just kind of a way to incorporate that into my life as a stay-at-home mother who's homeschooling her children. It's like you can make it work.
Yeah.
And it also requires me to be in alignment and keep my own body and vessel and life as pure and high vibrational as possible. So I'm simultaneously more able to help others and healing. Like it's a win-win, you
It
know?
is. Yeah. Like when I found it, or it found me, when we found each other, it's
Yeah.
like, oh, there is a word for what I do. I can market what I do because I'm sure, as you know, it's hard to monetize you when it's just
Yes.
like, yeah, it can be tricky.
Absolutely.
Your practice, it blends all of your learnings. How do you decide which tools to use in a session to create such a unique healing
Mm,
experience for each client?
sure. Um, you know, I just follow my intuition, honestly. And I'm very clairaudient,
Mhm.
having practiced for so much of my life. And so I usually am told, like, say this now or do this now,
Okay.
and if I'm not listening, they'll just keep nudging me about it over and over
Okay.
until I do it. So I'm like simultaneously, like, in the session with the client, experiencing the things that they're experiencing with them, and also holding the container of the session and helping to guide it based on the guidance I'm receiving as well.
Beautiful.
And I feel like a lot of that is actually what spiritual midwifery is, right? We're
I was
helping
gonna
each
say,
other
yeah.
birth ourselves,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. I love that correlation. That was a good one.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
You focus on helping clients reconnect with their divine nature and wisdom. What are some of the ways that you help them trust themselves and their inner voice?
I feel that one of my gifts is uh, my ability to feel really deeply into who someone is and including myself. So, because of that, when I am living in my authenticity, I get more information about who other people are and their authenticity. And, you know, it seems like it's one of the things that we come through when we come through the veil into this earth life and we forget who we are and end up in a somewhat disconnected way from the greater truth of our
Mhm.
beauty and abilities, etc.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's just part of our nature as humans on earth that we don't have that full sense of trust in ourselves. And so, through my ability to tune in deeply to someone and actually see who their soul is in a deeper nature and in a deeper way, a broader way, I can help reflect that to them. So it's like they remember who they are. It's like they're, they're remembering who they are through the experience of someone else being able to be a mirror for them.
I
And so
love
I
that.
kind of feel like that's what I'm doing.
I resonate with that. I always say I'm a rememberer. I help people
Yeah,
remember as well as like remember the pieces that are fragmented. It's
exactly. Right. You're bringing all your members together.
yes, yes. A rememberer.
I love that. That's beautiful.
I think it's Matthias De Stefano. I think he's the one who says he's a rememberer. I'm like, oh yes, I'm going to use
I
that.
love
Yeah.
that.
Let's see. You emphasize spirituality as a key part of the healing process. Did I already say this? Am I repeating myself? How
I
do you
don't think
guide
so.
clients into exploring their own spiritual path? I did not ask you that.
You didn't ask me that. But I feel like it's all connected.
It really
You know,
is.
the work we do is so spiritual. And I think as we begin to remember who we are on a deeper level and really feel that, we naturally reconnect to the greater truths. And that is a spiritual experience. And as I remember my experience of waking up is it's come in layers. Is that true for
Right.
you?
Oh,
And
absolutely. Yeah,
so,
especially because if we have parents or an influence like we did growing up, then that it didn't shut it off. So
right.
we were able to evolve and expand and
Yes. And then, like, despite that, in 2017, I had another big layer of waking up. And I remember during that time, right before I found Candace, right, in 2018. But
yep.
in that time, I was, I realized that all the things that I had never fully dared to really believe, but kind of believed were actually true. Like all of the amazing, beautiful, like God really exists and is here to help you, and you really can manifest and create this amazing world. And, it was just like, it just kept exploding bigger and
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah.
And I don't even remember where I started or where I'm headed with this, but
No, I'm with you because around that time was a big shift. And then, of course, the lockdowns happened in 2020. So it really just gave everyone, whether they wanted to or not, moments to self-reflect and have the opportunity and time to actually just do the work and watch podcasts. And so, I always
that's
say
right.
us light workers infiltrated the media in a way that I don't think they were prepared for.
Absolutely. And it was like, I was so happy. I was
Me
like,
too.
this is amazing.
Yeah, 2020 was probably one of the best years of my life. I always say that. But that's
Yeah.
because I earned it and I did the work
Yeah.
to enjoy myself. I was happy to be home. I loved my family. I didn't want my kids to go to I wanted to I loved it. I
Absolutely.
loved it.
Same. And
Yeah.
I felt like I wasn't as influenced by all of this fear and negativity because we didn't have a TV and I didn't tune into that stuff because it didn't
Oh,
resonate for
that's a
me. So it's like,
blessing.
no
Yeah.
big deal.
I was
Here we
still working
are.
corporate and retail, and so I was all in the hubbub of all the mandates and all the shit, and I'm just like, I finally just took a leave of absence and just never went back.
Good for you. I'm so
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah, it was I saw the signs. I'm like, no, I need to get out now. There's a window of opportunity, and then all of a sudden, Candace, BQ8, like all the things just like just fell into place.
Oh, I got all the goosebumps when you
Yes,
said
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That is awesome. I'm so happy for you. What a
Oh, thank you.
beautiful, beautiful blessing.
It really is. It is. You've likely seen some profound transformations in your work. Are there any universal themes or reoccurring lessons from your sessions that stand out to you?
Mm, yeah. I I would say in general, there's like a lot of themes that come up, whether they're in sessions or just in life or just conversations with
For sure.
people that I know and love. And a lot of those include how deeply important it is for us to really align with our core truth and embody that and live it as much as possible. Because when we're not doing that, when we're like holding up a facade of any sort, we are actually disempowering ourselves. And the more we are in our core, the more empowered we are, the more powerful we are to create. We're creator beings, right? And
Yeah.
so, as I think that that is actually what I personally believe that's what a lot of the media is built is to distract from our alignment with ourselves and what is actually important to us, which includes our heart and what is in our heart and our heart's yearning. So that's a big one.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of lessons about trust and faith, trust and faith, trust and faith have been coming up over and over. A lot about grounding and the
Mhm.
importance of being outside, being connected to what is real, to the trees, the ground, the earth, to sitting on the ground, having bare feet on the ground, touching the water, healing the
Yes.
water. Um,
I tell people often, just go touch a tree. If you can't touch it, just go look out a window. Just connect with
yes,
it. Like,
even a house plant.
seriously, seriously.
Absolutely. Hold a
Yeah.
piece of bark or a stone
For
in your hand.
real, for real.
We have access to all of those
So
things.
much, so much.
Yeah. And just the fresh air, the sunshine, like the sunshine is healing. There's a lot about
Mm,
nature that comes up in my sessions.
yep,
I suspect part of that is because of our history as elemental beings,
for sure.
fairies, pixies, whatnot, but also
Absolutely.
I just I've always felt a deep connection to the earth, and that comes up a lot in client sessions. But yeah, it seems like the major lesson, the overarching theme is to remember who you are, to believe in yourself, to remember that this is a journey. It's not about the destination, it's about the expansion of your soul along the journey. Like, you're not supposed
Mm,
to have it all together, you're not supposed to know all the things.
no.
It's supposed to be messy and ugly sometimes, and that's part
Yeah,
of our growth. And
right.
to have faith that we chose that, and we knew when we chose it that it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so, like, if you can hold that, there's no reason to be afraid. So a lot of it in recent years has been about letting go of those fears that hold us back, healing disembodied parts of ourselves or denied aspects of ourselves,
Mm,
inner child healing, um, sort of reincorporating those denied aspects of our souls, loving ourselves back into wholeness,
I love that.
and and yeah, loving and accepting who we are. And through doing that, we also get a chance to love and accept everyone else, and understand that we're all on our own journeys, and we're not meant to be on the same journey. So there's really no point in judging anybody, because they're doing the very best that they know to do.
Yeah.
Even if it's not looking like a great job, that's because that's what they need to learn right now. And we can
Mm,
just love them through it. Like, that's the best way we can support other people, is by loving them fully.
I agree. It would be a pretty boring like movie or story if there was no villains or tragedy or like, you know what I mean?
That's true. You're right. I actually think that might be why we came to Earth.
Right, yeah. Like this is all
A
just
little
one big play
excitement.
and act. Yeah, like how boring would it be if everything was fun and like no, we need some darkness to appreciate the light and all that nerdy stuff. Like quantum.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
through that, like, through this dense, challenging, slow place that we've chose to
Ugh,
embody here on Earth,
so
we get
dense.
the breadth of that, like the amazingness and the depth of the challenge and the
Yes.
broadness of those emotional experiences. And that is really like the meat of all of this soul growth. The
I
like
agree.
So it's really so beautiful, even in all of its challenge. And
Right.
that has been what gets me through a lot of those challenge experiences when I have them.
Same. Same, yeah, because it's too easy to get caught up and lost in the whirlwind of human, but we have that ability as multidimensional beings to tap into what's more. Remember who we are. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
my gosh, I still forget multiple times every day,
Absolutely.
and have
Yeah.
to remind myself and pick myself up every day. Not
Another
like,
one of my like bumper stickers is it's called practice for a reason. Like it's called
yeah,
practice. It's a
exactly.
constant practice. Yeah. Yeah.
You're right.
Speaking of, I just said that. Healing others is a deeply rewarding, but it can be intense. So how
Yeah.
do you maintain your own energetic and spiritual alignment when supporting others?
What a good question. Um, yeah, grounding is a big one for me.
Yes.
Um, Spending a lot of time in nature and doing a lot of my own, what I call tune in sessions,
Mm,
whether that's meditating, sitting quietly in nature, doing artwork, going for a walk, but whatever it is that I can. And sometimes it's actually doing healing work for others, or tuning in for others also attunes me,
yeah.
um, which I'm sure you experience
Oh
too.
yeah.
It's the beautiful thing.
It really is. Yeah.
But yeah, I need to take a decent amount of time to myself, to just be and be present and not on a device and not getting distracted by the myriad of things that have to be done on
Yeah.
the farm, and just to tune in, be with the earth, be in this moment, breathe the fresh air, sit in the sunshine or in the moonlight. And that and meditation, I would say, are the two big ones for me.
Mm.
And as time has gone on and as I've moved here, meditation has changed a lot for me. It used to be like no matter what was going on, I could dive in and go really deep. And now I have to work harder for it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if that's the energy of the world right now or the energy of where I live. And like
Yeah.
I'm not sure. But I also
I
feel
feel
like,
that though. So I would say it's very collective because the world is going
yeah,
through so much shit right now. Like it's,
right. And like in quantum healing work, how they say that people used to, they would just like go into sort of a trance state and not remember anything. And now people, when we do this work with them, they tend to come out and remember a lot of it.
yep.
And my understanding and experience is that that's because we're supposed to be in our waking state and have this easy connection and communication
Yes.
where we're constantly like learning, hearing guidance and whatnot. And
Yeah.
so,
A true integration. Yeah.
yeah, I feel like it might be, my lack of ease in going really deep and really far, no matter what's going on in meditation, I kind of think is part of that same thing. We're being trained to be able to do it wherever, whenever, in whatever circumstance,
Yeah.
even despite the challenge. So,
For sure. Like whenever people ask me how to meditate, I'm like, I'm doing it right now. Like
yeah,
I'm
here you
always
go.
like I'm constantly in a meditative state of mind because that's part of the practice. Like it's just
Yeah,
yeah.
that's beautiful. I'm gonna hold that.
Right, yeah. Like you're
Take
doing it
that
right
in.
now. Have you ever done dishes? Have you ever driven a car? That's like if you're
Yeah.
just pin focused on one thing, that's meditating. It's not some Himalayan mountain sitting in a lotus position, which sounds beautiful. I would love to do that one day. But
Yes. Right. But
yeah,
it doesn't have to be perfect. And indeed, it can't be right now. So
yeah.
that's okay.
Because I think you said at the beginning, energy is everything. So it's just all about
Yeah.
the intention. Yeah.
That's, yeah.
So looking back on your journey, what are you most grateful for? Or is there like a particular moment or a client story that has stayed with you?
What I'm most grateful for is the depth of connection and faith that I have in being connected to my higher knowing, my divine guides and wisdom and information that flows through to God, the divine, whatever you want to call this creator force that I believe we've come from. And I just feel like because of that connection and how it's grown over these years of doing this work, like that really, no matter what's going on, it brings me the deepest sense of peace, faith, calm, um, trust, knowing. And that is what is able to guide me through all the challenges. I think that that's been the most poignant thing for me.
I love that. How
Yeah.
about, is there like a specific client story or session that you want to share? Maybe a recent one?
Mm. The most recent sessions that I've done uh were very beautiful in that the client's higher self was what came through, and the way that their higher self was embodying in the higher planes of existence. You could see how it was mapping the life below, and that they had these greater, um, for lack of a better word, I'll just say jobs, like missions or
Yeah.
things that they were doing to influence not only Earth but other places. So I just feel like I wish that I could convey the depth of beauty that is experienced when the energy of these high vibrational beings comes into a session,
Yeah.
but I can feel it, the client feels it, like anyone that's there, if there's a third person there, they can feel it. And it is just, it blows me out of the water and brings
Every
this.
time. Every time.
Yeah, it really does. And you know what? I grew up in a very non-religious household and I didn't understand religion for a really long time. And I feel like I have, through this work, actually started to understand it because I developed my own relationship with Jesus, with Mother Mary, with God, etc. because they came into all of these sessions.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I know you. I get
Yep.
that. Like, I get it. You're my buddy. Like,
Yeah.
we have this relationship in this whole beautiful way that I would have never guessed I would have said that. And I'm so grateful because I feel like my life is so much more rich because of it.
Mm, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
So, Hannah, what is next for you? How do you see your practice evolving, and what opportunities are you excited to explore?
Hmm. Um, that's a good question. I feel like I've been in a little bit of a I get into these places in my life where like I'm in the universal flow, like I said, and then I feel like most of my life is in a waiting period where
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the next like show me what to do. I am here. I am like gonna do whatever the thing is.
I
Just show
feel
me
that.
what it is and I'll do
I
it.
feel that deep. Yeah.
Um, and so I honestly don't know. I am doing exactly what I am meant to be doing right now. I know that deeply.
Yes.
Um, I have full faith in that and I love what I do. And so I'm not at the moment guided that I need to be doing anything different. And so I sort of just am taking things as they present to me and then following intuition and we see where we get.
That is such a beautiful answer. I love that. That's a good place to be, I feel like. It's kind of just neutrality. It's just you're in that zero point of peace. That's a
I
good thing.
guess you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't that nice?
That is a really good thing.
You're right. Yeah. I'm not feeling like things need to be
I feel
anything
that, yeah,
other
because
than
I'm not
what
one of
they're.
those like A-type personalities where it's just like I'm a go-getter. I work hard, have amazing work ethics, but as you know, being an energy worker and a business owner doesn't always meld. And it can be very
Yeah. It's
contradictory.
awkward.
Yeah, it's hard. It's a lot and it's very draining because it's all energy based and it's that's a good place to be. Because
Yeah.
I'm often like, am I doing enough? Even though I'm doing more than I ever have. So it's just sometimes you need to just yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
And haven't you found this is another message that comes up over and over? We heal everything outside by working on ourselves, which sounds
So
counterintuitive,
cliche.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
But like we really need to look inward. We need to do what we can to keep our own being as highly vibrational as possible and like as resonant with who we are and what we know as possible. And I feel like then all of the answers just unfold. You don't need to seek, you don't need to like overstretch. They
Mhm.
just unfold as they need to. And with
Yes.
that deep sense of faith, there's really nothing more than that, that like you're just following the breadcrumbs when they present.
Yeah. That reminds me of like my yoga practice, being a yogi. It's because at the
Mhm.
beginning, you want to push yourself and stretch too hard to reach that pose and do what the instructor is doing, and you end up hurting yourself and you backtrack the healing process. So it's kind of like on a micro scale of what you just shared.
Yeah, and it's hard as a human not to want to overdo it
Do
and
it.
not
Yeah,
to
like I
want to.
see that person do it, I can do it.
Yeah, and like
Yeah,
I don't feel like I'm in the universal flow right now. Let's go get it.
right.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
that's not how it works.
No, anything forced is
Unfortunately,
fake. Yeah, you can't force it. No.
you can't. Otherwise, you're just swimming upstream.
Hmm. Yeah, I heard, oh, I think it was just last night. Someone used like a reference because I love analogies. They said people are always, like we said, fighting, go upstream, just fighting, 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 get to that destination. Throw the fucking oar, let the boat turn around, and just go with the flow. Why are you fighting the flow?
Right. I
Like,
know.
like,
I think
but
it must be in our human nature or something.
I don't know. I don't know. It's all shifting.
being,
That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
being human is funny.
It really is. So I could talk to you for hours. Please come
I
back, please.
know.
But one of the ways I like to end these is to ask a fun question. If you
Okay.
had a superpower, what would it be, and how would you use it to help humanity?
Okay. I mean, it just like flowed right in when you said it. I would focus on a person and then instantly their heart would like bloom and they would know true, like fully who they are and be like
Ooh.
completely embodied. And I kind of have like a tricky, I don't know, the word power is hard for me sometimes because I don't
Yeah.
want people to misunderstand. It's not power over, it's being
No, no, no.
empowered, like fully in your power.
Correct.
So through this experience, they would be empowered. And I feel like that just like then they go out and shine like a lighthouse to do that for others. So I would do that for as many people as I can, and then they could do that for as many people as they can. And then it would just spread all over the world. That would be my wish.
You realize you're doing that, right?
Yeah, I guess you're right. Oh man, it's so good.
That was my answer. I was like, I just want to like touch someone's head and just boop,
Yeah,
they
I
remember.
know.
Yeah.
Just remember who you are. You have it all.
Hmm.
You're already all of it.
Yes.
You're doing it.
Yes.
And you're doing
Yes.
it so beautifully.
Oh,
And
yes.
I believe in you. And I know you. And I think you're amazing.
Mm. Oh, my heart is pounding. I
Yeah.
love you so much.
I love you too. This is awesome.
This is all right. So my cheeks hurt. If you could share one piece of advice or wisdom to our audience, what would it be?
So this is funny. The answers are coming in as you're asking the question, and it's not something I'm thinking about. So I'm just gonna put it out there.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like when you're in a state of challenge or dysregulation, go outside and take a few deep breaths to yourself.
Mm.
Just take that moment to yourself and remember that you're here for a reason, that this is happening for you, not to you. It's for your benefit, and we're going to be okay. I don't know why that's what comes through, but I do that a lot. So
Beautiful.
maybe.
That's beautiful. How about if the audience could have one takeaway from this conversation, what would that be?
Mm. To me, it's really this message that keeps coming in over and over to remember who you are, to be willing to remember how beautiful you are, and that you don't need to be or do anything to be more, to be worthy, to
Mm.
be, more accepted, loved, or amazing. Like you just need to embody yourself to the fullest extent that you can. And that's not easy. And it's okay. It can be
Yeah.
messy, it can be ugly, it can be incomplete. It's a work in progress because it's the journey. So I think
I,
that
I love that. I always hear like Mufasa's voice, remember who you are. Like I always, that's what I hear over and over in my head.
I love it. You have the good Mufasa mane.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So where can the people find you, work with you, learn more about you?
Yeah, well, I have a website, um, ottermoonhealingarts.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. And people are welcome to reach out anytime. And
And I'll put
I
all the
will,
links in the description too, of course, to make it easy for
that
them.
sounds great. Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hannah, thank you so much for joining me today, sharing your thoughts. It has been a long time overdue, and I intend that this is just the beginning of some beautiful co-creations.
That sounds amazing. I am so grateful to have been able to spend this time with you. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you for
I
making
love
the
you.
time. You pulled over on the side of the road and you're in the
I did.
park right now to make this happen. I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you too. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. And I'm sending love to you and to everybody.
Yes, and if you
Enjoy
made it
your
this
night.
far, like, comment, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and we will speak in the next one. Mwah.
That sounds good. Bye,
Have an
friends.
amazing everything.
You too.